Hey everybody, that is Gary Smith.
Hello there.
That is Kaz Kenny.
Kapow!
And I am Eddie Bramble, and this is episode 65 of the Blackwater's Edge podcast. 65, guys.
Wait, you know what?
Yeah,
I can't wait till we can say the word 100.
We're getting there.
you just said it.
That's it.
But I didn't mean it.
Don't say things you don't mean,
That's
Kaz.
right. Let me tell you about that.
We could write a book about that.
That's exactly right. So, Kaz, why don't you start us off with this week's fishing report?
All right, so look, before we start with the fishing report, let's talk about the Angler Sports Center up
That's
there
right.
in Annapolis. Okay, they are our headline sponsor here at our tournament. Look, if you need bait, if you need lures, if you need absolutely anything that has to do with the outdoors, guns, ammo, anything like that, Angler Sports Center is someplace that you want to check out for sure. What?
How do you do that? Just with that? You need bait, you need lures, anything outdoors. So you come up with a rhyme right on the
What
spot.
else do you do outdoors?
Yeah. I'm saying,
I don't know, but I do it all the time. You're
You do.
right.
You come up with crazy rhymes just on the spotlight. I've never seen anything like it before. It's unreal.
Anyway, Anglers is your go-to up there in Annapolis if you need something up there in that area for fishing. Okay, look, if you're going rock fishing, trout fishing, anything like that, they do live feeds all day long about what's going on around the bay and what them guys are seeing and what their pro staff is doing. So, you know, we're very fortunate to have them as a headline sponsor, and we want to thank Anglers for that.
Absolutely. Appreciate them coming out, too.
Yes, yes.
Lindsay coming up to the tournament and helped out with everything, and Dave, too. So it was just great.
It was pretty funny because you know, Lindsay was like, "Can you do the video for this fillet thing?" And I already knew that it was going to be a little issue-ish because we didn't really have a solid, scratchy surface. We were kind of sitting on a slippery surface, you know. So, but hey, we got it through, we got it done, and
We got it done.
and we made it happen. So, fishing report-wise, down here on the Eastern Shore, we're seeing lots of fry balls. We're seeing plenty of fish being caught for the guys that know how to adapt to the situations that they're presented with. Right now, you know, with the fry balls being there, we'll call it the fry ball bomb. All you need is a bobber about that big, you know, 1.5 inch, 1.75 inch weighted bobber, and all you're going to do is put your snakehead destroyer about that far below the bobber, and there's two ways to get those snakeheads to bite on that fry ball. And Gary, you know one of them, that's to cast past them and come back to them real slow. That's something that you do all the time.
And jig it when you get in the middle to make the fry jump.
Now, what I like to do is I like to do an underhand cast and just kind of like plop my bobber up in the air so they can see as it's falling down on them. You know what I mean? You get that down and you can do that, you can really, really be very effective on a fry ball.
You see him, he's so cute. He goes,
Pow! Yeah, and then just disappears, you know. So we're having a lot of fun down here. You know, we're doing some fish with Kevin Hogan a little bit last week. Broke a rod in half over there at the spot we were fishing at on a big fish, and you know, it's just been a good fishing last week. Anyway, we had the heat hit 2 days ago, and the fishing kind of slowed up a little bit everywhere, no matter what you were targeting. But the good news is we've had some nice cool rain that's hit today. So I think what's going to happen, and I'm pretty good about my forecast when I say things like this.
It's definitely going to change the bite up, for
Absolutely.
sure.
So what's going to happen is I think we're going to see them fire up and feed here real quick. Once this colder water mixes in and we get a nice stable temperature, which will probably be sometime tomorrow as the tides change back and forth. You know, it'll stable out pretty quick. So don't be afraid to get out there and do some fishing. Some blue cats in the Anacoke. I mean, up in the rivers, shallow stuff, it's mostly snakeheads, some largemouth bass. A few bluegills here and there in some of the rivers. Not very good here where we are. Crabby fishing's been down Newbridge and in the Chickamauga.
Did you say crabby fishing?
Crabby fishing. Crabby. Well, we can go crabby fishing too. I put a video up on our page yesterday of crabby fishing. You know,
you did a crabby jingle.
That's right. Crabby jingle while you're crabby fishing.
Yeah. So that's about where we are with fishing. You know, if anybody wants to chime in the comments and say, you know, what you guys are seeing or what you guys are catching, you know, just feel free to type something in there and we'll talk about it. Hey, Rob Fryer, good to see you. We're going to talk about you today, baby. We got something good going on for you today. So look, before I get into the tournament results, and Eddie, you're going to handle that, let's talk about our good friend Roy Bradshaw. Our good friend Roy Bradshaw down here on the Eastern Shore. If you get caught on the side of the road or you're in a ditch and you're broke down.
I was going to call an audible because Mike was saying he was going to run short on time. I was going to move that to after our guests.
Okay, so you want me to back off of that?
Yeah, we'll just go straight to Paul.
Okay, let's go straight to Paul. Paul Batters, for those of you that don't know, he is just an excellent tournament fisherman. He's a bass fisherman. He's been fishing that Upper Bay for at least 10 years, and he's a threat to be reckoned with no matter where he fishes at. I can tell you that. This guy does his homework day and night. And when I say night, I mean and night. I've had the pleasure to meet Paul. I've had the pleasure to do business with Paul, and I've had a pleasure to get to know Paul. And I can tell you he's just a really, really down-to-earth guy, and he means well. And you can believe the things he's saying because he's pretty honest about, when you ask a question, you're going to be pretty shocked at some of the questions I asked him today and some of the answers that you get back from him. So
Shocked.
Shocked. So go ahead, Eddie. Why don't you introduce our guest?
So our first guest today is going to be Paul Batters. Paul, how you doing today, buddy?
Good. How are you guys doing?
Good, man.
So Paul, tell us a little bit what's going on in your neck of the woods. I know you've been out doing some fishing. I heard there's been some areas you've seen some massive amounts of snakeheads. I mean, is there any place you want to talk about as far as what you're seeing snakehead-wise?
Dundee Creek has been absolutely ridiculous. There's so many down there. There had been for the last few years, but I was down there the other day, and I saw 6 at least that were over 30 inches in a 50-yard stretch.
Wow. That's crazy.
It was incredible. Yeah, it's just insane up here.
So I know you're fishing other places than Dundee. What are some other places you've been fishing? I know you've been fishing in Joppatown. Let's talk a little bit about Joppatown because there's some things there that I found interesting as we're talking about how the fish have been behaving this year as opposed to last year and the year before. We know the numbers are there. We know that they're seeing them at night. You're seeing them at night. But I understand that the bite's been kind of tough on you guys, especially in the areas that have been beat pretty hard up there, like the marinas and the docks and the things like that around Joppatown. So let's touch on that a little bit. Foster Branch. Let's talk about Foster Branch first. What have you been seeing up in that area?
So Foster Branch, there's a ton of snakeheads in there, and they've gotten pressured so much. And 2 years ago, you could go out and it was super easy to catch them. I think I caught out of Joppatown without leaving the 6 mile an hour area. 2 years ago, I caught over 100, and that was just fooling around after work. And that was kind of when I really got into snakehead fishing was about that time. So
Right.
Now, since everybody knows the numbers that are there and they get pounded on every weekend, it's not, the numbers are still there, but they've responded to the pressure and they're a lot harder to catch now. You can't just go throw a frog for, in the evening and get 20 or 30 blow-ups. You'll still have those evenings, but it used to be, it was every evening you could go into Foster Branch or you go into in the canal that right there by the ramp, and it was easy.
Yeah, I think we're seeing the same. We're seeing the same thing down here in Blackwater. The pressure has definitely changed the fishing patterns for sure.
I mean, here's something that we were talking about the other day with Dave McCullum when he was down here to do our fishing club, and he was our speaker. I don't know if you're seeing it this year, but I know we're seeing it here this year, like with a topwater lure or something like that. When you're bringing it in, you pull it out the water. That fish is there, and sometimes we're even seeing here, I know, Gary, you've seen it, they will literally pick their face up, and it's like they push their eyes out of the water just enough to see, and then just kind of back down, like
right.
when they get a breath of air, but they're not breathing, they're looking, And we're gonna try to make some videos this week of that, just to show some, because a lot of people have been asking about that. Now I know up in Rumsey Island, a lot of guys are saying they're picking them off under the docks, and it pretty good. Is that a correct statement to say that?
Absolutely, they're just stacked. So. I was out. Me and Rod Steiner were out one day, and I mean, we counted probably in one little cut, just under the docks. I mean, there was 4 or 5 under each dock. Probably saw 25, 30 in one little cut.
Gosh,
and there's how many cuts are in there, and they were in every cut.
So
there's a ton in there.
So we were talking about some of the adjustments that you have figured out to make, and I don't want to give away any secrets, but if somebody's fishing an area that's been pressured really, really hard, seeing a lot of activity, what's something that you would reach into your box to grab to maybe throw in there to get a fish?
So time of the year makes a difference, but one thing that's always going to that's always going to help is making long casts. You have to make long casts for these fish that have been pressured. It doesn't matter what you're throwing. If you get close, I fish from a boat. If they see my boat, I'm not catching them. So I have to downsize and sometimes I got to change my presentation a little bit. Before the grass got up, I caught a lot on drop shot.
Now, you just said a big word there, the G word, grass. So I hear that the grass is coming back in Joppatown, and that it's really kind of helping some of the species that have kind of been suffering there for the past, let's say 10 years. Are you seeing a lot of grass like these guys are telling me? I haven't had an opportunity to get up there yet, but I'm going to be heading up there probably later in the week or early next week. So, is there a ton of grass? The reason I'm asking you this is because, U.S. Fish and Wildlife is going to be coming up to the flats to be doing some survey on the year-young rockfish and things like that, what the possible impact is from the snakeheads being introduced to the river, and along them lines. So I guess my question is, with the grass there, is that helping the fishing, or is it kind of making it a little tougher?
So it's a double-edged sword because it really helps the fishing because obviously it gives them structure or it gives them cover to be in, and that's really helped the bass population. The bass population started to bounce back in the gunpowder over the last couple of years, and we had the fish kill 4 years ago,
right,
or 4.5 years ago now. And then 2 years after the two following years, all the milfoil died off. We had a lot of rain, and there was a lot of muddy water early in the year, and a lot of the milfoil died off. And the last couple of years, there's just been a tremendous amount of milfoil in the river, and bass love milfoil. So the bass population has really started to come back since that milfoil started to come back. So it helps in that way that the population of fish is getting better, but grass is not the easiest thing to fish. So from a fishing standpoint, when you get those real thick hydrilla mats and those thick milfoil mats, it makes fishing, the actual act of fishing, difficult.
So before we go any further, let me just talk about somebody real quick. The CCA, the Coastal Conservation Association. We're doing a lot of stuff, and we need anglers up your way to get involved
everywhere.
Everywhere. But being that we have a couple different places that we're targeting, right? We want to try to get the word out in your community. So, the Maryland's Great Chesapeake Invasive Count. The CCA is putting that on, and you can register up on iAngler, and you can submit your catch.
Go to ccamd.org/count, and that's where you register. If
you go there, you can register, and then what you do when you catch your fish, you go ahead and you measure your fish. You don't have to say exactly where you caught it. They would like to know the body of water. Gut sampling is optional. You can do that too if you want to. You can gut sample your fish and you could submit that. That helps.
Dave said if you submit the length and weight, that's one entry.
Right.
And if you submit the gut sampling, that's a second entry. So you could theoretically get 2 entries per fish for the prizes. So
it's really a good opportunity for the angler, not only to help harvest some of these invasives and to eat some, but also to help us get additional data that we don't have in the budget or we can't afford to do.
And that's not just snakeheads. That's all invasive. That's blue cats, the whole
flatheads, yep, all that. So before we get any further, you Paul, I want to give away a little care package from the CCA. So Gary, why don't you show them what we got there? We're going to give you a little fishing tool. We're going to give you a koozie. We're going to give you some hand sanitizer because everybody needs hand sanitizer these days. So Eddie, what do you want them to say in the comments to get that prize pack?
They need to say Great Chesapeake Invasive Count.
There you go. So put that in the comments, and you can win that prize pack. Paul, I know you fish some other areas besides Joppatown. Let's talk about the flats. You fish a lot there on the flats. I know you fish some Swan Creek. You fish a lot of bass tournaments. So I know that you haven't really been doing a lot of snakehead fishing, but I know that through some of our conversation in your bass tournaments, you're stumbling across some fish in some areas. So what are some of the areas up there that we might suggest to people that maybe could use some attention and maybe give us a little hand?
So Swan Creek, again, since the grasses came up, snakeheads up here love the grass, and they especially love hydrilla. And they will sit on a high tide. You can see them
over top of the
grass, on top of the hydrilla, and it's amazing. Once the tide comes up, they'll come up and they'll sit right on top of it. And there's a lot of hydrilla in Swan Creek, and they will get stacked in there, and you can catch a bunch of them in there, and I've caught some big ones or some really big ones in there. In fact, the 2 biggest snakeheads I've ever caught came out of Swan Creek. I caught an 11 and a 10.5. Those are my two biggest snakeheads.
Wow. So have you fished much of the bush this year? I don't think you have. I think you've been focused on some other areas.
No, unfortunately, I love fishing the bush for bass and snakeheads, and unfortunately, I haven't got a chance to get down there this year. I've been fishing a lot of bass tournaments, so
now,
I haven't got a chance yet, but I'll be out there soon.
Now we know recently that you participated in the Ike tournament up there. I heard you guys did fairly well in the amount of boats that were in there. What did you guys wind up doing there?
Yeah, we did.
That's right. Yeah, brag a little bit. Come on.
Me and my buddy caught. We had about 19. We caught about 19 pounds and ended up fourth place. Scales were a little off, so you'll see you'll see that the weights were down a little bit, but it's a great tournament, and Mike's charity is really good, and I've been a supporter of them for quite a few years, and donating to them, and I love his charity, and he does great work. So being able to fish that, finally got a chance to be able to fish the tournament, and we did pretty well. We ended up finishing fourth.
Well, I know we were very honored to be asked to participate with that, So before we go and let you off, Paul, Gary wants to ask you something, and I'll let him ask you this, then I'll ask you one more question, then we're going to get on to the next guest.
Yeah, like in the Upper Bay, I don't fish the Upper Bay, so I was just wondering, what are some of your best baits to use up there?
I would say that I've caught. Not lying when I say I've caught 90% of my snakeheads on frog.
That's word.
It's a lot of.
Not much different from me, man. Frogs and buzz baits.
But I also early in the year, I catch them early in the gunpowder, early from late February, early March, and I catch them a lot that time of the year. Slow rolling a spinnerbait deep, in deeper water than what most people expect to catch snakeheads, in 7 to 10 feet. Yeah, 7 to 10 feet of water, slow rolling a spinnerbait.
It's funny you say that. We don't have anything that deep, but it's like Cornflower. He's got some spots where he bottom fishes 20 and 30 feet in the winter. He's catching snakeheads on cut bait,
Yeah, they don't they don't hibernate around here. I mean, I've caught them perch fishing in Joppatown. I've caught them bass fishing in the wintertime too on silver buddies.
What do you think it is about a frog? Snakeheads don't like frogs, period. Clearly.
Yeah.
I think it's just efficient.
Yeah, but there's times you can throw all kinds of stuff at them and they won't react. But you throw a frog, it's like they got an attitude.
It's high protein, man. Yeah. That's all it is.
So
they seem to feed on the surface a lot, so that could have something to do. I mean, they always feed close to the surface, and if you think about it, their eyes are on the top of the head. They're always looking up.
I think that's true. So, that's a big part of it.
I think they are very. I don't want to use the word familiar, but they're very kind of relative to the way crappie eyes are. They're looking up. You know what I mean? Kind of that sideways thing. Mm-hmm. So I think that's what a lot of people mistake is a lot of people fish below those fish. You know what I mean? They're getting exactly below them, and they're not in the target zone. So
that's a good point. I think a lot of people don't realize that is with the eyes on top of the head. Even if you're level with that snakehead, that doesn't mean you're in target zone. Target zone is going to be above their head, not level with the snakehead. So that's a good point.
I've always said that. When I see him cruising, in 2 feet of water or 3 feet of water and clear stuff over in, say, the Marshy River or something like that where I can literally see them. There's a lot of fish over in that Marshy I'll tell you that right now.
Well, it's like Little Willie, who won, he called biggest fish of the tournament last week. Yeah. He had a snow hook, and he had the bobber hook right on top of the snow.
How about that? I didn't realize that.
Yeah, all day long.
Huh. That's some cool stuff. I didn't know that.
What's that, 4 inches?
Yeah, 5 maybe.
Yeah.
So Paul, before we let you go, is there anything that you want to add in here? Anything that you want anybody to know? Anything that you can think of that might help the new angler?
I can say, and this is coming off of some things that you said in your fishing report about the water getting hot and the bite slowing down. These grass fish up here, they don't slow down when the water gets hot. They get under those mats, and the water stays cooler under those mats. And it can be some of the best days that I've had. 100 degrees outside, sun beating down. If you can find the grass mats, find the little holes in the grass mats, they'll be in there. Even on those hotter days where it might be a little slower down on Blackwater where you don't have as much grass. That would be my biggest tip, especially for this time of year when it's getting really hot. Is if you can find those grass mats, you'll find them because they'll suck right underneath of them at waters usually 5 to 8 degrees cooler underneath the grass mats.
Yep, that's a good point. Yeah, that's something we really don't have to worry about here in Blackwater because, like you said, there's just no grass here.
No grass, no lily pads.
I mean, we get a little bit, but not like up there. I mean, when they say they got mats, it's mats. You put up one of these things and they're just floating out there. You know, it's beautiful to see the eelgrass, the milfoil, and all that stuff.
We've kind of got that. You got the Phragmites, and the Phragmites is just roots. And they'll get up under the roots, and the frog go up in the frag.
Yeah, we'll do that.
Well, like you said, you've had places where you've hunted where it's just floating islands of frag.
You're like walking on a waterbed until you fall through.
Yeah, I don't know how many people have actually got to experience that when a piece breaks off of the shoreline and it's out there floating around. Yeah, but when you stumble across that here in Blackwater, I can tell you what, that is where you're going to find them fish really good. And I'll tell you why. If you've ever taken your hands and you've dug in that black mud down there and just kind of ripped it apart, there's actually little tiny bloodworms in it. There's all kinds of stuff for them to eat. All right, Paul, look, we're going to get on to our next guest, Mr. Mike Stewart. But, look, I want to thank you and anybody out here in Facebook land, YouTube land, wherever you are. If you need some tips or want some pointers, head over to snakeheadlife.com and tag Paul, and he'll be sure to help you with a little tip or something like that. Right, Paul?
Absolutely.
Hey, we appreciate you, man. Thank you very much.
Have a good one, guys.
You too, buddy. Bye-bye. All right, so look, folks, our next guy that we're going to be having coming up is Mr. Mike Stewart up there. And if you haven't had a chance to get to know Mike Stewart, you're going to get a chance to know him here today, and we're going to talk about that.
But Mike's appearance is going to be sponsored by
Horseman Enterprises. Yep. So look, if you're on the Eastern Shore or if you're in the commercial business and you need a crab boat, you need a shrimp boat, you need a fishing boat, you need a netting boat, whatever you need, reach out to our good friend Benny Horseman there at Horseman Enterprises, and we will get you set up. If you haven't seen any of the boats that he's built, you just don't know what you're missing. He builds boats all winter long for everyone in this community, and he works on boats for everybody here too, and he'll work for you, I can promise you. So our good friend Mike Stewart, if you're not familiar with him, you know, he's got the page Rising Tide, and he
not Riding Tide.
Rising Tide. I guess I don't know where he's at. Let me see.
This is the personal cell phone.
That's a personal cell phone for Mike Stewart.
That's what Mike Stewart sounds like.
That's what Mike Stewart sounds like. Let me see where he's at. Let me just send him a message.
Try again, Gary.
At Mike Stewart. Let me just message him real quick. Sorry for the delay, guys.
But yeah, so Horseman Enterprises, if you need any custom boats built, I mean, they do a great job with that.
Crab pots,
the crab pots, they're selling bait down there in Madison now as well. So I mean, they're doing the whole 9 yards down there.
And I'll tell you what, the good thing about here is that the crabs really have been picking up here a little bit recently. So I think that everybody's been asking about the 4th of July, what we're expecting and things like that. So, let's see. I guess Mike's not going to be available in here. You want to just go into Dixon next or what?
Yeah, just go into Dixon.
Chris Dixon, we're calling you now. So let's talk about Chris Dixon, our good friend, the Masturbator.
That's right.
That's his nickname. So if you haven't had a chance to meet Mr. Chris, he is definitely a very knowledgeable man here on the Eastern Shore.
And his appearance is brought to you by Bassrack Outdoors.
His appearance is brought to you by Bassrack Outdoors. And, we're very good to have him as a friend here on the Eastern Shore. I've learned a lot from him. He's a master gigger, I can tell you that. So, he can gig anything down.
He's called a master something.
But yeah, so we'll get on. Is he picking up there?
Right here.
There he is. That's the Masturbator, Mr. Chris Dixon. Hallelujah. How you doing, brother?
I'm doing good. What's up?
When you're chuckling like that, I know you're doing good. All right. So let's talk a little bit about fishing here on the Eastern Shore. Now, I know you've been pretty busy with work. You haven't had many opportunities to get out, but we got a lot of people asking about this time of the year and how to approach their first trip here to Blackwater. If you had a friend that was coming down here to Blackwater to go fishing, what would you suggest to that guy as far as places to look? And it doesn't necessarily have to be Blackwater, Chris. We can talk about other areas here, the Chick, the Trans, Chop Tank, whatever you want to talk about. But being that you're a seasoned snakehead fisherman, you're one of my go-tos. You know that. You're not just a seasoned snakehead fisherman, but you're also a seasoned gigger. You know what I mean? So, I've always called you my Poseidon because the pictures of you with your pitchfork upside down, your long beard, and your wavy hair, you just kind of reminded me of Poseidon. You know what I mean? So you always be my Poseidon. And why don't we talk about how you would approach tomorrow after this rain? What would you do?
Tomorrow's probably going to be a decent day.
I agree.
Other than the water being just straight soup, you want something. I would think if they're not hitting topwater, you want something flashy, maybe like a Mepps 4 or something like that. I prefer a white bucktail with brass. I'm not a big white and silver for whatever reason. It just doesn't work out for me. But
have you caught many snakeheads on bucktails?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. On the Mepps.
Right.
So I like running the Mepps when it's a little bit murky. But I mean, as far as somebody coming over for the first time, don't expect to just come over and catch a fish. They're here, but it's a finicky fish. Sometimes, you think you're going to have a great day, and just like, tournament day. I didn't see any huge numbers on tournament day. Unfortunately, I couldn't fish. And unfortunately, there's another tournament coming up this weekend, and I can't fish that one because I'm, scheduled for work.
Yeah, I was just about to say we missed you on Saturday.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, and actually the tournament coming up, I believe, is they take so many people out of how many they have signed up, and it's a placement thing. So if you don't place in the first one, you don't fish the second one. So unfortunately, I'm just out of that one. But I don't know. It's just the way the cookie crumbles, or whatever you want to call it.
Right. So,
but as far as coming over, I mean, yeah. I personally, I'm a fan of Aries, of the Transquaken. I like the way the Transquaken, you could fish lily pads in some part of it. You could fish frag. You could fish right up next to a farm field, and it just drops off on some bends. And some bends, it just seems like it's a big mud flat. But I find like on a hot day, if you can get to that spot that's not a flat where it just drops off and you have some frag on the end, throw that white mouse out there, or, throw a topwater frog into the field. Like I'll throw it up there a foot or so up on the top in the frag, and then just real slow bring it off. And when it hits there, you think you got a little pocket there or something like that, and they're holding fish in that pocket. When you drop it down into that water, I mean, it comes into the water natural. So
if you jig it in that grass before you bring it off there, they hear all that rattle.
Exactly.
They hear that. So, you got to think kind of like a fish, and kind of, you got to kind of think like a frog. So, you can't just go out there and buy everything on the shelf, because I mean, I've done it. I've got a box full of stuff that I rarely use. There's certain ones that I use, and I really enjoy working with Daryl with Addiction Baits. I think he has a good product out there.
He has a great product.
I've used S&S chatterbaits too. I'm a fan of the chatterbait, and it's just picking the right color chatterbait for the right time of year and where you're fishing at. Like, you go down Little Blackwater River, there's crawfish in there.
Right.
I'll take a craw color.
I think
orange and black is
crawfish
a great color.
I use a lot. I like that.
We've talked about it before. Matching the hatch is so important when you're out fishing, because I mean, if the snakehead sees something they've never seen before in an area, I mean they're a smart fish. That's a pretty good key for them not to hit on something. They know what they're looking at.
I tell you, we just heard Paul talk about the amount of pressure that's being put on the fish up there in the gunpowder and how spooky they are. And we had Dave McCullum at our fishing club meeting this week talk about, when he's in Joppatown, he spooks a fish. He doesn't go anywhere. He just stays there and waits, because that fish will come back. So that was a good tip that he gave us, while we were there too. And I know that from here too. Sometimes we'll spook the fish, and we know if we wait, it'll come back. You know what I mean? Sometimes it doesn't, but most times it will, because it's looking for food or it's looking for a home. You know what I mean? So I know you fish for a lot of stuff here. What is your PB on snakeheads, Chris?
Oh, tournament wise was 13-4, playing around off of DeCourcy 15-6.
That's a good fish.
It's not bad.
Now let me ask you that 15-6, what'd that fish hit on?
Oh God, I can't even think what that was. That was a couple of years back, but I think I was pretty much running chatterbaits at the time.
Let me ask you something. We used to see lots of numbers of bass. Do you think you're seeing anything over the last year? Do you think we see anything coming back? You seeing anything shorten up? What is your opinion on what you say?
I personally haven't caught any, large numbers of bass. Amped up tournament, not last year, the year before, the team tournament that me and Justin won. I happened to catch a bass like right off the gate, and it's because of where we were at. I saw something in the water there, and but that was actually the last bass that I caught. So, but like I said, I haven't been fishing real hard this year. Just I've been busy as hell at work right now, and I got some stuff I'm trying to do some stuff around the house that I should have been doing, like catching up on
Don't worry, Chris. We're all
you
we're all
probably
3 years
like
behind on our
I got like
honey-do
4
list.
hampers full of laundry I haven't done. I got the dishes in the sink piled 3
Man,
feet high,
good.
man.
Why'd you give it away, man? I almost had my way convinced that it's just not possible to get done in the summertime. Man, you blew it, man.
Right.
Dang.
But as far as I think about somebody coming over here and if they come into the shop or something like that and they want to know what to use, I'm telling you right now, as far as I go, it's a white ribbit frog.
Yeah, I know that's your go-to.
Is probably my number one thing to catch snakehead on with an unweighted hook. I'm giving everybody my secret right now.
Okay, well, before you give away all your secrets, okay?
And it's not even a ribbit frog. It's it could be any of them. Wheatleton Customs makes them for Daryl at Addiction, and then Real American Baits. Butch, he makes them really nice, and
I've seen that frog. I think it's beautiful. Yep.
They're close to ribbit. Wheatleton Custom has one. It's a little bit smaller. It's like a toad, and you have to kind of use like I like a 4 or 5 wide gap hook, no weight, and they're a little bit small for that size hook. So you got to just bring your hook back a little bit, but I like to have the hook right between, like, in the crotch of the leg, as far back as I can get that hook.
I'll tell you what, that I agree with you 100%. I mean, you want that hook back there, so when it clamps down, you're not too far forward, and you get that son of a gun. You know what I mean?
Right.
What about live
and
bait?
that wide gap hook, when they close their mouth, that wide gap hook's going.
What about live bait? You're not a big live baiter, are you?
No, years back when I was trying to catch numbers and stuff like that, I had, a lot of people were asking me for fish. So, yeah, I'd go out there and help people out and, catch them like that. But my thing is more for sport. And I still, 90% of the fish that I catch go to other people.
And I don't know if you saw the little write-up I put in our post, but, that was one of the first things that I wanted people to know about you is just your heart and how you are. I've seen you go out of your way, not just with myself, but with many other people, and I do know that I don't know how many times you've offered people, that are with me that didn't catch a fish, or even somebody at a spot where we go to that hasn't caught a fish. You're the first guy that I can honestly say that, you're not a greedy man. You know what I mean? And I know you got enough in your freezer, and you have what you quote unquote want or what you need. You know what I mean? So just to see the way that you carry yourself around the new people and things like that's just amazing. But before we go any further, Chris, I want to give away one of these high octane baits right now. What do we want to say in there about the? Now look, Gary, you can give a little plug if you want to. Gary's been using these buzz baits and.
I've said it before. That's the best buzz bait I've ever used. He makes 2. Basically, it's the same buzz bait. One of them has a bigger blade. They're twin blades, but one of them has a bigger blade on the bottom and a smaller blade on the top. The other one has a smaller blade on top, the same size, and it has a little smaller blade on the bottom. I prefer those just because you got to have a pretty good sized fish to grab the bigger one, but they're just on it. They're just made well.
I think the key is the way he wraps that eye too. I mean, there's no way to straighten that out. You just can't pull it straight.
Much.
So Gary, why don't you think of what we want to say to give away this chatterbait here from High Octane Baits?
What was it the Snakehead? 220 was their high octane?
I don't remember.
260. 260 was their high. 260 octane.
260 octane.
So put 260 octane in the comments, and you can have that chatterbait. So Dixon, I know that you do a lot of other fishing besides snakeheads. You like to play around with some other stuff. What are some other things that you like to do besides snakehead fishing here on the Eastern Shore?
I enjoy going out and, when the rock come in, like Cooper's Island and that strait, you go down there and, you here again, my favorite color is white.
Yep, I'm with you on that one too.
You go down there with a saltwater assassin, and you can sit down there for about an hour until your arm gets tired,
or your thumbs are bleeding.
I could go down there once a year and get my fill of catching rockfish. I mean, it's that fun. You just get it over with that, and then go home and rest your arm. It's nonstop reeling.
So I'm with you on that. My favorite bait to use down there is also a white lure, but it's that Riptide mullet. You know, that glow white.
Right.
You know what I'm saying?
Right.
So I'm a big firm believer in that. And I think the reason that whites always work so good here is because of the predominant white perch. You know what I mean? And the gizzard shad too, the silver sides. I mean, all that kind of has that white hue when they bend into the light. You know what I mean? And I think that the fish remember that.
And we live in an area that does have a more it's a murkier water. Chesapeake Bay is a little murky. When you're fishing down there, the water's pretty clear sometimes, you know. But as far as us fishing all over in general, it's a murky water. It's not like you're fishing down in Florida. You're not fishing clear water, and you know it's a totally different bait. You really got to watch what you do down there.
Well, it's like using braid and tying a leader on. You don't need a fluorocarbon leader.
Yeah, exactly.
No, you don't need it. They're not. Yeah. I have never I've never used a leader, and I've never had a problem where I thought that they were line shy. I really haven't.
You know, everybody's always made fun of me. I think you included, because everybody says, "Kaz, what are you using? 10-pound fluorocarbon?"
Whoa,
like,
you mean people make fun of you, Kaz?
Oh, dude, they don't just make fun of you, man. They try to throw me under the bus, trash me, whatever they want to do. I love it, man. Bring it on. Just makes me hungry. It makes me come back even harder. You know what I mean?
Poor old Kaz.
I mean, if you want to talk about people that use weird line, I mean, look at Cornflower. He goes to Walmart and buys a rod that's got 4-pound test on it, and he'll sit there and catch 50 fish with it. And he's spending $10 on this rod.
Yep. So that's his deal. He buys like 5 at a time, $9.99. They're pre-lined. They're pretty. You know, has to just tie his hook and his bobber on. When the line runs out, he either gives them away to a kid or he throws them in the trash.
Use them 10 times, throw them away.
But that's the thing. You know, he might be down there, and there's some kid that breaks a rod. You know, Cornflower give him a rod to use. You know, here, take it.
I think that's
the thing. I think it matters. It doesn't matter how much you spend on your rod and your equipment. It's how you use it. It goes for a million things in this world. But you could buy a cheap rod and go out and have a great time and then make some kid happy. Or for that matter, you can make some adult happy that didn't catch a fish, and, you know, you help them out with dinner.
Right,
yeah, exactly.
right.
Well, you know, I always say, Chris, that presentation's 85%.
Yeah.
And the other 15% is finesse. And that's the difference in the cheap rod and the good rod.
When Yogi Berra said
working on that finesse stuff, you got to have the good stuff.
Yogi Berra said about baseball, he said it's 90% mental and the other half physical.
But look, here, you know, a couple years back, I was using just, you know, off the shelf rods, and you know, I finally last year I stepped up and I went ahead and bought a custom rod, and you know, and it's a great MFer rod. I love it.
You told that for Mr. Fletcher.
Yeah,
Mr. Fletcher, I'll tell you what, he is building some amazing rods over there.
Got 2 the other day.
We are very grateful to have him as part of our team here at the Woolford store and building rods for us. And
Fletcher's actually leading the category for heaviest fish of the year in the tournament series. So there's that too.
Speaking of which, as far as the tournament goes, I'd like to give a shout out to Justin Klein for placing.
Yeah,
I didn't get to fish with this time, and you know, I think he might have. He went somewhere that we wouldn't have normally gone, so more power to him, and that was great. And I saw Jay Diggs up on the leaderboard.
Yeah,
there.
man. Yep. Yeah.
You know,
yeah.
I fished with Jay before, more of a Facebook friend, and then you know I fished with him down in at the Chick. And nice guy. I'm glad he placed, and I think if I'm fishing a tournament, he's fishing a tournament, it's like one of us doesn't catch fish. So I'm glad I didn't fish and he caught fish.
Well, I'll tell you what, I think we had a nice turnout. I think most people caught something. You know what I mean? The numbers weren't there, I think, because of the fry, the you know, there's a lot of spawning activity going on, so it's just kind of tough. Those guys that were able to adapt, those guys that have been fishing here for a couple of years, those are the guys that placed. You know what I mean?
And I'll tell you, there's some people that are like, you know, pulling a fish off a fry, you know, A lot of catch and release guys don't like doing that, but if I'm out fishing a tournament and I see fry, I see a win. I could pull a fish off fry. It's a matter of agitating just nonstop on them, and they're gonna get pissed off.
And I can tell you also that I'm with you. I mean, if you see them big fish and you never caught a 10-pounder, I'm not against you throwing in there them fry balls and getting them either. You know what I mean? I'm not against you throwing in there and getting them both out of there and taking them home to eat.
I don't worry about the fry ball, because if one parent's already gone, the other one's a lot harder to catch.
Right.
And if you take one of them, there's still the other one, and they've already done their work.
Right.
All they're doing now is just protecting the young. So it's not like you're busting the.
So Chris, I got one more question for you here before we let you go, and then we're going to give Mike a call here and get him on here and talk about some bow fish in the Upper Bay. Gary's going to ask you this question. It's about gigging.
Yeah, when you're gigging, you got any suggestions for anybody what to look for and how to go about it?
The whole thing with me making these gigs was, we had this big flood tide and Badger was here, and we were like, what are we going to do? Well, all these fish are on the road. So I went to the shop and I made these gigs. But I'm telling you, there's some different companies out there make some nice gigs. I think it's Outriggers Outdoors on Facebook. You can look them up. They make a nice looking gig, and they're not real expensive. But the key to it is having a barb that'll keep that fish on there.
Yeah.
You could walk down the shoreline. If you see something, you could gig it. But I kind of like doing it when it's a flood tide. You just walk in the water, tide as hell out, and you just walk down the street, and there's fish in the road. What could be better than that?
Now, do your gig, is your gig round with spines on it, or is it flat?
No, it's flat.
Yeah. I've got a round one, and I've used it a few times, and it works really well, but you've really got to hit them hard because you're punching them with 2 or 3 at a time.
Yeah. Now, I have, I believe it's, there's 5 points on it, and they're fanned out flat, and they seem to work. But like I said, the barb is the real the trick. There's companies out there that make them for like flounder gigging.
Now, real quick.
I would think if I was going to go do it like a lot, I think I would just, instead of making one, I would just go and invest in one that it's already been proven.
Real quick before we let you go, we know that it's very easy to gig here, especially when our roads flood and things like that. But we want people to also be aware that places like Blackwater and things like that, you cannot be gigging on the road.
That's just what I was about to say.
So, I just wanted to throw that out there because we know where we can and we can't. And we don't want anybody to get in trouble or get a $500 fine for gigging fish.
I think we need to spend an episode, since we talk about gigging so much, probably talking about where the people can gig. Because a lot of people, I've had people ask me that before.
Bow fishing.
Exactly.
You know what? I think one of our next ones.
Yeah,
one of our next ones. I think we'll do that.
You don't want to have a weapon on you.
Right. Exactly.
Right. You do want to have a fast vehicle, though. No, I'm just kidding. I'm just kidding. Yeah. All right. Well, look, Chris, I want to thank you for coming on here today. We're going to get a hold of Mike Stewart right now and get him on here and talk to him about some bow fishing in the Upper Bay and what them guys are seeing. But we just kind of want to break things up this week a little bit and kind of mash it up. Go here, go there, go everywhere. You know what I mean?
Thank you very much, Chris.
That's great. Thanks for having me.
Hey, we love you, man.
We need to get together, man. Let me know when you can go.
Yep.
Oh, definitely.
All right, buddy.
All right, buddy. We'll talk to you soon.
Bye.
All right, see you.
All right, so look, our next guest coming up is going to be Mr. Mike Stewart. So before we get into Mike Stewart, let's talk about our good friend Kevin Hogan over there at Bassrack Outdoors. If you have not had a chance to check out Bassrack Outdoors, there's just some amazing stuff going over there that Kevin's doing right now. I can tell you right now that, he's got shirts, he's got apparel, he's got hats, he's got all kinds of stuff over there. You know what I'm saying? So,
and spices.
Yep. I think we got Mike on the phone here. So just Mike, stand by 1 second. The spices that he has right now that are available, that's what we used here at the tournament this weekend to cook the snakeheads. If you didn't get a chance to come here, we gave away snakeheads, and I even threw oysters on the girl for free this weekend. So if you didn't get down here, you missed oysters and you missed snakeheads.
That's it.
So let's talk to Mike here for a couple minutes.
Mike, how you doing, buddy?
Hey, guys, sorry about I wasn't trying to ghost you earlier, man. I apologize for that.
But it's okay. You're probably like me. If you don't know the number, you don't answer it. I get about 1,000 of them a day. You know what I mean? So
I was expecting a call from you, Kat, but that's all good.
That's okay. So let's talk about a little bit what's been going on. Now, before we get into bow fishing, I saw you down on Riggins Corner last week, and I saw your message in our group about, does anybody have a gig? Can they bring it down? What the hell was going on there, Mike?
Man, so I knew that the ditches down there are awesome because I've spooked them in the ditches and stuff like that. And I've talked to you about it. I've caught them in the ditches.
Oh yeah.
But you know, a lot of times in the daytime you can't really see what's going on in that water. So I was just curious and, you know, got a pretty high powered flashlight and was just walking the ditches. And man, I had a guillotine throwing spear, which is a good tool, but the head of it is very narrow. So like,
now hold on. Is this a karate like weapon?
No.
Okay. Okay.
By the way, I don't do karate. I do jiu-jitsu.
Jiu-jitsu. I don't know what it all is. I just know you're one badass dude. That's all I need to know.
But anyway, it's a spear. It's a throwing spear, and it doesn't have a wide tip. So if I had a gig, I could have gigged easily 10 or 15 of them within like 20 minutes. They were just sitting right there in those shallow ditches.
Right. Well,
tough to see them, but if the water clarity's good, you know, if it's clear during the day, then with a light on it, then it's pretty clear at night. Yeah, it was fun, man. It was fun either way. I killed a few carp. That was about it.
Well, I saw you there, and I wasn't sure if it was you or not, you know, and me and Kevin, we had gone past you, and we were already down Hip Roof. We were working some ditches down there, and when I saw the post in our group chat, I was like, he sees the same things we're seeing these ditches. I mean, were you seeing a lot of fry balls where you were at? Because when we came down around the corner there at Hip Roof, we hit like 4 or 5 fry balls right there on the corner.
So, interestingly, I haven't seen any fry balls yet this year. I haven't. Actually, I take that back. I saw one in a private pond, but that's it. I feel like everything's just a little slow this year. I don't know about you guys, but I feel like not slow, but just like a couple weeks behind where it was the last couple of years.
Well, I mean, I kind of agree with you on that, you know, to a degree, but I think what we realized last week, you know, was in our driving around and in ditches, we weren't seeing a lot of fish in open water, and Gary can tell you that because he's been fishing out there in Blackwater and the open water and all that. Ricky, all them guys, they've been fishing up there above the bridge. So we were kind of thinking and talking to some of the biologists, you know, about the education that these fish have gotten over the last 10 years here, some of the pressure they've got.
Last 2
but
years.
most of all, the birds. You know, these fish were really accessible to the birds the last couple of years. Just because we know they were grabbing them out there at Key Wallace in the open water, grabbing them out there at Blackwater in the open water. So we were kind of wondering if maybe, you know, being that these snakeheads can adapt, shift what they're doing, you know, transition, whatever, maybe they were going a different route this year with spawning. Now, I agree with you that we've had too much instability in our shallow water for them to have that successful boom spawn, you know what I mean? We've talked to a few people at the tournaments. You know, a lot of them guys saw fry balls in the tournament Saturday out there fishing. But a lot of them guys were way up the creeks. They were way up the heads, and they were in small, shallow pockets and areas that weren't as accessible as, say, that open water, you know? So
where Willie saw all his.
Yeah, so I mean, so that's what we're kind of wondering. You know, are these fish now like, okay, well, look, we know we can't. We're getting picked off, and we're out here in the water. Let's try to find some shallower places. Think about the rice paddies and things overseas where they are. You know what I mean? Before I go any further, Kevin, I do want to give away this old school jig spinner right here. I'm sorry, Kevin, Mike. Mike, I want to give this old school jig spinner away to somebody. If you're down here doing any trout fishing, let me tell you what. The speckled trout fishing has been amazing. Mike, if you hadn't had a chance to do it, get your ass over, and I'll tell you where to go. Send me a message later, and I'll let you know. But this jig spinner right here is a 3/8 ounce golden minnow. It's one I've been using here, and I've been very successful with. So I'll pick this time. Kicking it old school. That's what you got to put in the comments. Put that in the comments. You can have that old school bait right there. So, Mike, I wanna get back to what we're seeing here. So, I know you've been doing some fishing here. How has your fishing been? I know it's been slow. What has your most successful day been here as far as a number, let's say?
Well, this year, I think the most successful day, we had like maybe 19 or 20, I feel. We should have had more, but that's how many we landed.
Right.
And that's predominantly on the net spinners. I tell you what, I've been catching a lot on the addiction baits too. On those addiction baits. I forget the name of it, but it's like almost like a chatterbait.
The splatter bait.
Is it the splatter bait?
Splatter bait.
It's not the splatter bait. I have that one.
His chatter's called the thumper. He calls
the
his chatter
thumper. The thumper.
That's the one, the thumper.
Okay.
I've been playing with the thumper. That's the bait I throw when nothing else is working. I throw that thumper and we'll almost get one almost every time, depending on the. And then I've also been catching quite a bit on the SS Custom Baits Snake Frog Mini.
Yep, Trunks bait.
And then I'm so glad the topwater bite has really just turned on in the last week or two for me. And those ditches, man, like those ditches around Hip Roof and I mean, I'm telling you, man, that's a good spot to go.
Where I saw you at that evening, if you go up the road before there on your left, there's a little pocket pond, I call it, right there.
Yeah,
and
that's where I've been having success. Is those little, you find a ditch and then you'll find you got to park and walk a little bit. But
yeah,
you know, I don't care about doing that.
Yeah, me neither. Now, I just want to throw in there what I've been doing real good with is that lunker hunt pocket frog. You know, that's what I just do good with in the ditches. And Eddie will tell you, these guys will tell you 99% of the time when I'm in the ditch, that's all I'm using is that pocket frog.
Not the compact, the pocket.
The pocket frog. I mean, it's small, you know, it's small. And them hooks are hard enough. Look, you might have to keep some super glue handy with you or some duct tape, you know, but you can keep that thing going for a couple of hours, you know.
I'd like to see you duct tape one of those mini frogs.
Right.
I'm glad you guys brought that up because a good tip for people, if you're having trouble with frogs, I'm telling you, switch to a smaller frog. Some people are I don't know what it is, but I just think it's that they can't resist that easy meal. And when I'm having trouble, I'll throw 5-6 different frogs in the same spot. But that SS Mini pocket or snake frog, and also the topwater bait I have the most luck with is the Lily Ninja, the little mouth, like the tiniest mouth. I think Savage Gear makes that.
Yes, I have them. They are money, man. I mean, they are. When that live target mouse ain't producing, that's my backup right there.
Yes, and I really think switching to a smaller frog and slow down your retrieve is the ticket.
Now let's talk a little bit about the Upper Bay. Let's switch positions here because I know you got some stuff going up there and you're doing some things as far as bow hunting goes or bow shooting. What are you seeing up there, Mike? I mean, lay it out for the people because everybody says, you know, there ain't many there. We're not seeing nothing, and we know that's just not true. So, so let's talk about what you guys are seeing.
When we are bow fishing on the Upper Bay, the size of the fish is ridiculous. It's a way bigger class of fish than I'm seeing around Blackwater. You know, I don't know why that is, and I'm telling you, the last time we went bow fishing, I mean, I brought 2 new people, never done it before, and they each killed like 3 each, and they're big fish sitting in very shallow water. And like I'm telling you, the captain that I go with, shout out Working Class Outdoorsman, Captain Nick Mather. He's got some spots open in July. You guys can hit him up on Instagram, Team Working Class or Working Class Outdoorsman. I support him. He's the captain I go with. He's my guy, and every little creek, every little mud flat, every little place that we've explored has snakehead in large numbers and large size, indicating they've been there for a while. And that they're eating, and what they've been feeding on is giant schools of shad. Is when we find the shad, we find them. Look, if you can't catch them, I don't know what to tell you. Like they're there.
It's like when you first started coming here and we were catching hundreds a day. I'm like, if you can't catch them, I don't know what to tell you.
Yeah, and I went through that. You know, the first 6 times I drove all the way to Blackwater, I got
I know.
I knew they were there, and it just took some persistence. But if you're having trouble in the Upper Bay, I don't know if Paul's been on yet, but Paul is really good in the Upper Bay. He took me out up there. It is a completely different style of fishing,
yes,
which is why I bow fish up there. I don't have the patience.
So I don't want you to give up any spots, but like let's talk about some of the class size of the fish that you guys are shooting. What's the biggest fish you guys have shot so far?
Well, my God, I mean, I was on a boat 2 weeks ago. My buddy Jay shot a 15-pounder. You know, all of them, or at least all of them are dragon class fish, dude. Every single fish. There's a couple small ones, but the last few trips that I've gone, 30-inch plus, 10-pound plus fish. I'm almost every fish. I really have a feeling that tournament that Scott Sewell's putting on up there, the MR Bass Club, on August 14th at a Flying Point Park, you're going to really see some crazy stuff coming out of there. You know what I mean?
And them guys, I know they're going to be running over the Susquehanna, we're running the Bush, and we're running the Gunpowder, we're running all them places. So we'll see. How do I want to say it? How good they are with a fishing rod, during that tournament, and see what comes to them scales. You know what I'm saying?
For sure.
Now let me ask you something. Go ahead.
Yes, sir. No, you go ahead.
So are you guys gut checking any of these fish that you guys are shooting at all?
Almost all of them, because I clean and eat every single one of them. We don't waste a single fish.
That's awesome. That's why I wanted to ask you that question, because I know you guys don't waste anything, and I wanted people out there to know that how you guys operate, that you guys just ain't that out there killing stuff to throw it in the grass. Guys are out there actually utilizing the resource that's available to you.
Yeah. So like,
well, what are you seeing the most in these stomach checks that you're doing?
So it's mainly shad, lots of shad. Which people aren't concerned about, but it's like, okay, where do you think they're going to start? And tons of bluegill, plenty of other species too.
It sounds like the same way it started here, doesn't it? Think about it. Down at New Bridge, them corralling the schools of mud shad in the beginning, and then the mud shad numbers fall. Now it's the bluegills, the crappies, the other stuff. I mean, that's what most concerns me, looking at data that's been collected and what we're seeing in places as things are unfolding. You know what I'm saying? So you're seeing bluegills, you're seeing shad. I mean, what's the most unique thing that you guys have found in the gut? Anything off the wall that might entertain somebody?
Not in the upper bay. No, not really. I mean, I would say the size of the shad is surprising. That is surprising. Like, the proportion of the size of the fish that they're eating in proportion to their body is insane sometimes.
So that's kind of like what we were showing here earlier this season.
Still see that.
We were gut checking some of those fish on the live feed from out of the nets. We were seeing 18-inch carp. We were seeing 13-inch gizzard shad. We were seeing 12, 13-inch catfish. Ricky had a catfish that had a 22-inch channel cat in its stomach. We had another guy that had a 3.5-foot eel in its stomach, So I don't think anything's off the table, you know what I mean? If they're hungry, they're going to eat it, you know what I'm saying?
Absolutely. I mean, it really has made me reconsider what size baits to throw and that sort of thing.
Yep. I agree with you. I think when you got them bigger fish around, they're more prevalent. You got to have bigger baits, you know what I mean? And then if you can visually see places like some of the upper bay areas, it's clearer than others. If you see them chasing your bait and they're not hitting, then do what Paul said earlier in the show: downsize your bait. You know what I mean? So look, Mike, I wanna thank you for taking time out to help us here today. I know you're busy with your jiu-jitsu school and stuff like that. Look, your Rising Tide page is absolutely amazing. The positivity that you're putting out there is just incredible, man. So we're glad to call you a friend. We're glad that you're here with us, and if there's anything we do for you, let us know. And just give a little plug on the guy you're boat fishing with one more time.
Working class outdoorsman.
Okay.
Captain Nick Mather, yeah.
Now tell everybody about his boat. What's that boat look like?
Green.
Oh, dude, it's set up you'll ever see. And I've boat fished in different states and stuff like that. There's nothing like it. It is truly a one of a kind adventure. You got to check it out. And he's booking right now for big carp. I know we talk about snakeheads a lot, but there's many other invasives that cause problems in the bay, like Asian carp, and common carp rather, and the blue catfish, and we just smash those out there in big numbers, and it's fun to do. You get a little bit of meat out of it, and you get to help the environment too. So it's kind of win-win all around.
All right, well, look, buddy, we're going to let you jump off here. We're going to talk about the tournament this past weekend. We're going to give away another prize for the land group. So, Mike, like I said, we appreciate you. If there's anything we can do to help you with any of the stuff that you're doing, just don't hesitate to ask, man. We're here to help you.
Thank you, Mike.
Hey, man, Kaz, you've done so much to help me in the past and teaching me about snakehead. I'm happy to reciprocate, my man.
Thank you very much,
Thanks,
Mike. It means a lot,
Thank
man.
you, Mike.
We'll talk to you soon.
All right, see you guys.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
All right, folks, look, as we start to wrap this segment up, I want to talk to you about our good friend Rob Fryer over there at the Land Group. Look, if you're looking for that special place to retire, if you're looking for that special place to hunt, if you're looking for just that special place for you and your family, Rob Fryer is your go-to guy. And the Land Group. He sells dirt. He sells deer. No, he doesn't sell deer, but he sells land with deer. You know what I mean? But look, seriously, Rob Fryer is just a stand-up guy. If you're not friends with him on Facebook, get friends with him. Check out the the Outdoor channel. And look, on behalf of the Land Group, we're going to give away a pack of Snakehead Destroyers. Okay, so what I want you to do in that comment is put Rob Fryer sells dirt. That's what I need you to put in that comment, okay? You can have that pack of swim baits.
Rob Fryer sells dirt.
Let's see, we got another giveaway to do for the Bait Boyz. Okay, we're going to give away another one of these raffle tickets, okay? So this raffle ticket is from the Midshore Fishing Club, and if you haven't had a chance to join the Midshore Fishing Club, they would love to have you as a member.
Great group.
A great group of guys. They meet over at the Moose Lodge. Is that what it is? Or?
The Elks, I think.
Elks or Moose, whatever it is, right over here in Cambridge, and you can reach out to them, and you can get yourself signed up and join the club. So this trip is a rock fishing trip on the Choptank River in October of 2021, provided by our good friend, Mr. Phil Goody. This trip is for 6 anglers anytime after 1 p.m., Monday through Thursday, in the month of October. All proceeds go to the Clint Waters Scholarship Fund at University of Maryland, Horn Point. So that's just a great program to sponsor and to put the money into. The drawing is going to be in September of 2021. If you want any additional raffle tickets, you can reach out to the Midshore Fishing Club. You can get 4 chances for $10 or $3 a chance. So, Gary, what would you like them to say to go fishing with Captain Phil?
That kind of caught me off guard. I was thinking something else. Fishing with Captain Phil.
Fishing with Captain Phil. That's what you got to write in the comments.
Fishing with Captain Phil.
And you can have this raffle ticket. So, Eddie, before we go, I know we want to talk about a couple other things.
Yes.
I know we have our MEPS Angler of the Week. Do we want to do that now and then talk about tournaments?
We can do that real quick. The Angler Spotlight of the Week is brought to you by Roy Bradshaw's Body Shop. Kaz, you want to tell them about Roy real quick?
So Roy Bradshaw, he's a good friend of us right here in Church Creek. And look, if you ever get stuck down here on the Eastern Shore, you're in a pinch or you fall in a ditch or anything like that, there's no reason to complain. Just simply pick up the phone and call Mr. Roy over there at Bradshaw's, and we'll get you out of that jam that you're in and make sure that you get on your way before somebody else gets you and you get a ticket. So we'll do our best to help you out. Remember, if you can't fish there, you don't know if you can fish there, don't fish there. Also, we're going to have available this weekend, hopefully Saturday morning at Cambridge Tire, we're going to have some hand select minnows available for people. We're going to start peddling a few minnows here to kind of help things out here. Damien's really, really busy with what he's got going on. So we want to try to help him to alleviate some pressure that he's got on him and just help keep the flow going and make sure everybody's happy. So if you're going to need some minnows this weekend, feel free to reach out to Gary Smith or myself. We'll get things together. And, so that's where we are with that. And then
that's right. So, and then Roy was sponsoring our Angler Spotlight of the Week, who is Edward Main. Caught this one. I think it was just submitted today, actually. Is it today or yesterday? I can't remember. Edward Main caught this one, and it is a nice fish. That's our Angler Spotlight of the Week.
I'll tell you what. I think he said that he was out there in the heat yesterday. Mm-hmm. He got one fish, and I got to tell you what, you're a better man than me because I wasn't going out in that heat at all yesterday.
It was a little warm yesterday,
and the day before.
But yeah, so let's talk about the tournament this past weekend. So with first place with 28.75 pounds was Roman Gorelski. I hope I said that right, Roman. But yeah, he turned in nice.
We were going to have Roman on a night, but he's in Virginia on a fishing trip, and the service isn't there very well, so we had to scramble this afternoon to get some stuff together, and we did because we always come through.
That's right. So, but yeah, he came in first place, and let's see, Damian Cook came in second place with 26.35 pounds.
Nice bag here.
Jason Allport came in third place with 16.75 pounds. Fourth place was Justin Klein, who we talked about earlier, with 15.5 pounds. And Justin actually placed in both tournaments so far. I think he came in. I can't remember if he came in third or fourth in the first tournament, but he's been right there in both tournaments so far.
He's kicking it.
Yep. And then in fifth place was Jay Diggs with 12.4 pounds. The heaviest fish of the tournament this past weekend was Roman turned that one in. It was 8.5 pounds. Damien turned in the longest fish with 30.75 inches. The most fish turned in was Ricky Seagard with eight snakeheads. The heaviest of the year leader so far is Matt Fletcher with 7.75 pounds. See, now Roman didn't get in that Calcutta, and that's why Matt's leading that right now. Roman's fish was actually bigger, but
explain kind of the points thing here because I think there's a few people that might not understand that.
No,
go ahead,
I wanted to talk about our big winner of the weekend first, the one who broke everybody's hearts over the weekend, Little Willie. He won the kids division with 10.45 pound fish.
Yeah, all on menace.
That's it.
Every bit on menace.
That's what you're saying on a snelled hook.
And everybody always cusses me because all I want to fish is a minnow 9 times out of 10.
I'll tell you something else. He was fishing in about 8 inches of water. Literally in about 8 inches of water is where he's fishing.
That's what it takes, man. But yeah, Little Willie, he caught 7 fish, and I think his bag would have beaten Roman's if he was in the main tournament. and he had the heaviest fish.
Oh, he did beat everybody.
Yeah, he beat
everybody
except for numbers.
Yeah, he beat everybody except for Ricky. And Ricky had caught 8 fish. I think Willie only had 7, but still, Willie had a great bag this weekend. But yeah, so our leader for Angler of the Year right now is actually a tie for first place. Justin Klein and Tom Malazewski both have 214 points.
Ooh.
And let's see. So, for those who don't understand the point system, so for everybody who shows up for the tournament, if you sign up and don't show up, you don't get the points. You get 0 points. If you sign up, you show up, you don't catch any fish, you get 10 points. You get 10 points just for showing up and being there at the captain's meeting, going fishing. If you turn in fish, that gets you placed on the leaderboard. That's when you really get your points in there. So if you get skunked, it really hurts you in the Angler of the Year standings. But yeah, Tom and Justin are both tied for first with 214 points. Roman is in third place with 120 points. And let's see, Damien Damien and Marcus Tolson are tied for fourth with 119 points. So, I mean,
here's the thing, though. Okay, like. Next tournament, Tom could skunk. The next tournament, Roman could skunk.
Justin, too.
And then before you know it, we've got a new Angler of the Year,
Justin and Tom skunk out one tournament, and it's a crapshoot then.
And that's what I'm saying. It's not over the way that we do it till it's over. You know what I mean? And the way
exactly
that we're doing it gives a lot of opportunity for it to be competitive for not just one guy, but for everybody. That's involved, you know? And that's kind of how we wanted to approach it, you know what I mean?
That's it. That's exactly why we do the points the way we do them. So, I mean, it's a fair shake for everybody. And if you get skunked, boy, it hurts you.
Now, before I forget, did Jay Diggs ever get back to anybody about his purse?
I have not heard from Jay. Jay, if you're watching this, you need to get up with us. We've got your 5th place prize down here at the
and if you don't get it soon, I'm going up to the sushi place and getting sushi tonight. So you got an hour. No, I'm just kidding, Jay.
Sign-ups are live for the next tournament, the Snakehead Summer Slam. Let's see, that is July 31st. The same rules as the first 2 tournaments, $50 to enter. The Calcuttas are $10 each. And the signups are live. I believe it's in the link is in the description below. We'll also have the event live on the Blackwater's Edge Facebook page. I think that's all I've got for the tournaments. But we do have the Snakehead Club Fishing Club. We were talking about some events that we want to do at the club, and we'll keep that between the club. But if you want to join the Snakehead Life Fishing Club, if you fish in all 4 tournaments, it's free to join. If you don't fish in all 4 tournaments, it's $50 for the year, and we've got some great stuff planned to do a lot of things with everybody. Let's see, what else have I got? Gary, you got anything else? Anyone more from you?
Just one thing about the minutes. If anybody's
once
minutes, we'll be there from 5:30, Cass? From 5:30. Cambridge Tower's right next door to Snow's Turn. So. Well, in the parking lot, you'll see us over there.
I know you'll be there. I might have to run crash.
No, I know. Everybody just listening knew that.
I'll make sure you got plenty of bait, though. Okay. So.
And we're gonna have him here at the store very soon. The remodel for in the back room is taking longer than I anticipated, but that's how life goes sometimes.
Because we're so busy. We're doing
that's exactly
things.
right.
You know, last week I didn't even talk about this. Last week, me and Gary journeyed to North Bay, up the top of the bay, the nonprofit organization for kids.
Next week, aren't we?
Yep, we're going back next week. We did an hour-long presentation up there to the kids about snakeheads. We used all the DNR videos, for our show and tell. And I'll tell you what, it was really, really awesome. And I walked around the room with that snakehead mount, and these kids were just like, oh, my God. And then they're watching the videos, oh, my God. So it was a really, really good time. We appreciate the opportunities that we're getting presented with
I got to announce all of our winners from our giveaways, too, real quick. Let's see. The winner of the CCA package is Bill Van Horn. The winner of the high octane bait was TJ Henson. The winner of the old school tackle bait was Justin Sellers. The winner of the snakehead swim baits was Michael Gertler. Make sure I say that correctly. The winner of the raffle ticket, Jesse Ramos. And I think that's all of our giveaways.
Wow, man, that's a lot of stuff to give away. I think we should give away one more thing. How about some crabs?
Yeah, that's all new, buddy.
You got anything else you want to add today, Gary? What's going on over the pond? Anything else spawning? Seen anything?
Yeah, there's something going on in the pond. I'm not real happy.
I was just about to say, if you want to talk about that real quick.
Yeah, I came home yesterday, let my dog out at lunchtime.
Oh, yeah, I forgot.
And one of my bluegills, about 2.5 pounds, is floating kind of head down with the back half of him gone. Right, just about midway of a 2.5 pound bluegill, which is a pretty good sized bluegill. And
now, for those that don't know, we have hybrids in there that grow to 3 to 5 pounds.
They're the size of the top of Kaz's hat, and not his head, his hat.
Ain't nothing as big as Kaz's
And
head.
one of them little, I mean, it was still kicking a little bit, but half of it was gone.
Right.
And I walked around the other side of the pond. There's another one in there, just the head. So I'm thinking, birds don't do that. So
No.
I walk around the other side of the pond, look around the woods, and there's a piece of fish there with some bones all scattered around it and some scales, and then there's another one. And there's only one thing does that, and that's an otter. Oh, my God, an otter.
Time to get some otter traps going.
Yeah. Well, no, you can't just
Hey,
do that.
hey,
That's right, I know.
I'm hoping.
You know what we could do? We could go over there and put a bunch of these otter tails out there and see what happens.
Actually, what I'm hoping is otters generally follow a stream.
Right.
And there's no stream to my pond. And there's no stream to my neighbor's pond. But there is a stream to the next pond down. And I guess they can smell water like anything else. They probably found it. But we got some rain tonight, and I'm hoping that rain gets them back where they need to be and away from me.
Well, if you want me to dress up in a scary outfit and come lay in the woods, I have no problem doing
I
that.
don't know.
And that's how the Chupacabra stories get started. So that's
My
Kaz.
dog would eat you up.
Have you ever seen that Joker mask I got with the long green hair
Yeah,
on it? I can go do that. Otter will be coming back.
You wouldn't be able to say, Mia, Mia. Oh, no. Too late.
Say what?
You wouldn't be able to say, Mia, it's me. I'm telling you.
I'll tell you what, I have a lot of fun. I hope everybody out there has a lot of fun, when you're sitting here and you're listening to us. And we're going to wrap up. We're a little over an hour. But before we do that, I'm going to go ahead and give away a couple dozen crabs. So before I do that, let me go ahead and give away the crabs first.
Yeah, do the crabs first.
So here's the deal. Renee Wachter, I'm going to give you 2.5 dozen mixed Maryland crabs. Tanya Lynn Mercusco, you're going to get 2.5 dozen mixed Maryland crabs. So stop out this weekend, get your crabs, and let's celebrate. Let's have a party. And before I leave you, let me leave you with a little crabby jingle. Gary, you want to join in with me to this?
Not yet.
Come on.
Not tonight, man.
Eddie?
Absolutely not.
That's all right. I don't need you. My crabs, they have 3 first names. It's heavy, full, and fat. My crabs, they have a 4th name. Absolutely mustard packed. So if you ask me where they're from, they're 100% guaranteed Maryland #1s. At the crab stand, here's a fact I know for sure you're coming back. Kapow, kapow, and kapow.